And we back. We back. Raj, Dust 2. No, Dust 2. Dust 2 is the second map of this best of 3 series. So maybe we'll see some more Forest AWPing. Maybe we'll see some more 152 shots through the doors when NiP are on the T side. I've been doing that. I've been doing that. Yeah, it does.
Nice.
It does. Doesn't always work, but sometimes it does. And I think like I don't hit the gap on reaction very often. Sometimes I do, but I'm often fatigued. But the 152, it works, man.
It works.
It works.
Try
it.
And then up mid is what, 141 is with a nade, 142. Remember the HE up by tree?
Ah, yes.
There's another one. Timings are
I need to
everywhere.
remember that one.
It's in my brain.
I love that one. Does so much damage, man. So much damage. OpTic are in a very good spot. They're in a very good position. They could potentially gatekeep Ninjas in Pajamas, depending on what Vanguard do on their route to the final as well. So it's a very interesting situation we have on our hands here. MSL keeps surprising people with AWP, keeps delivering. I feel like I don't think he has the. I don't think the public see him as a sniper just yet, even though he keeps delivering sometimes some amazing stuff with the AWP. But still, I think like he has a legacy of in-game leading and rifling to overwhelm with this sniping.
It's kind of like Nitro though, Nitro is actually really good with an AWP, but you don't really think of him as an AWPer even now, even though he's been doing it for an extremely long period of time. And it's just because of the role of him in that team with an AWP is more of a defensive, I'll hold down the lines. He can go aggressive and do some crazy stuff with it if he must, but that's not his general style.
Yeah, he's hybrid.
So we don't really see him getting out there. You don't send him out, out there all by himself.
I feel like he's more hybrid style though, where I feel like MSL is more dedicated AWPer at this point, because I feel like on Liquid it's like, do we want an AWP right now? Whereas I think MSL's AWPing more often than that. But it is a weird one. But Dust 2 will be a great test for OpTic, and I think overall this is a great test for Ninjas Pajamas. Last week they had a great week. This week though, it counts even more, and they're starting off on the wrong foot. Obviously, the storyline, it's not about bias. The main storyline is Ninjas in Pajamas are trying to qualify for LAN over a Vanguard. That's the story from NiP side in this particular match, and obviously on the Vanguard side, a Vanguard trying to do the same. Essentially, and they need to win the week. So that's what's happening. As I understand it, if a Vanguard don't win the week, NiP qualify. So it's all very interesting, but we are in an NiP match right now, so it's eyes on them trying to make a recovery. For OpTic, they're prize fighting. The deeper they go this week, the more money they make this week. Same for all the other teams as well, and that's an added bonus for Ninjas Pajamas and Vanguard. So that's the situation. Now, do we have updated odds from Pinnacle for the current situation? 1-0 for OpTic. They're still favouring Ninjas in Pajamas, so they're here for the long run. I respect that. I mean, where do you guys see this one going now that we are one map in?
OpTic did look like the team that wanted it a bit more, and NiP is really good at nuke, so it's a little surprising seeing OpTic do so well against NiP. On a map like Dust 2, though, as we talked about MSL opping, we've seen him op rail a lot in A, all right? And so my concern with NiP is, are you able to push him off? Because he's weaker when MSL has to peek and op instead of holding the position as we talked about earlier, more defensive. So I want to see by NiP the smokes and chain flashes over the catwalk too long. I think that's the important part if they want to just overwhelm MSL's op.
It's kind of funny because NiP must be obviously a little bit annoyed that a Vanguard managed to slither their way in because Force didn't turn up. A Vanguard up here out of nowhere. It's like, so that's quite, that firstly is quite humorous to me. But I do think, obviously, on paper, you've got top 6 team in the world. It's been performing pretty consistently to get to that point. And NiP and OpTic are a team that's been rebuilding recently, and they have a lot of promise, obviously, but they're not even close in the rankings. But obviously, from the gameplay, we're seeing that they're going to be consistently climbing. I think there's no way to avoid that. As long as they keep the lineup somewhat intact. So going on to Dust 2, I think OpTic have everything they need. The config element just by itself, we've seen what he can do. Sometimes he just takes over a game. On Dust 2 especially, you'll see him around the mid position, and if he finds an option to go really aggressive even on the CT side, he'll just win a round for you by himself. So really a big focus for me on OpTic. I'm looking forward to seeing what Refresh can do. Always interesting as a newer name for me on this team, but we are into it. And the T side will be where OpTic start things off. They're going for a fake, it would appear, because they've got 3 players towards A long here. And they're going to be pressuring the A bomb site very, very hard. And that bomb is just sitting in the upper tunnels, waiting to go.
Slowly creeping. And now the bomb has been spotted by Rez. A long rotation for all who aren't on the B bomb site right now, but the CTs will get there. They'll get there first. They have no grenades to move into the B bomb site. The bomb has been planted. Nico's got a good angle. And this is really weird because Dennis could try to contain these 2 players on the rotation to give them better numbers towards the site itself, but that's not quite working out. Forest now going for some bonus money. 1 versus 3. He's still got time. Did he hear Nico reposition jumping? He'll still take one in the face, and that'll be the pistol round. For OpTic, a good start for them.
Yeah, the start that they needed. And what's really scary is on Dust 2, you can get a pretty crazy amount of momentum on your T side because you don't have to go for heavy defaults on this map all that much. You can, but it's also very viable to really just take long every round. Just really force the issue there, or force the issue on Catwalk, and just start off by conditioning your opponent into how they should have their CD setups, and then exploiting that afterwards, and then throwing that B rush in when you least expect it because you're overcompensating towards one part of the map on a specific timing. That's something that you can do on a T side if you get a start like this. So I'm curious to see how OpTic will run this round. And Snappy, it looks like he's going for info, seeing if he can find a stack. Oh, hello. Speaking of stack. Oh, it's juicy with that Mac 10. That feels good. That is satisfying.
It's a lot of money as well.
Saw the excitement on your face.
Dude, we're talking about eating up players with Mac 10, no armor. If 5 standing in front of him, lined up. No helmets. No helmets.
Super tight checkpoints as well. Oh, if you're fast enough. If you've got that moving accuracy.
You're... Oh, yes. That is just so good, isn't it? That's just great.
That's a made man. He's done for the day.
I feel like you're more of a fan of this than me, James, but you're just your excitement's tempered for some reason.
Being a party pooper.
OpTic charging through. It's at a long position. This is not the start that they wanted in Ninjas in Pyjamas. Lecro's still there. Eventually goes down with a sword. I think he was a captain and going down with a chip in that position. Just like, I'm going to stand here until I'm dead. Now he's dead. Yeah. Nico's made his way into the B bomb site for what it's worth. Mainly flanking position. Doesn't see Forest and CT just yet. There's a spray for Rez, and a smoke grenade that will leave him exposed to Forest, who's still looking for the cross. 2 players moving down in mid position. There is the cross from 1. Now he starts to want the grenades in the mid. Gives him an idea of positions, but it'll be sprayed through the smoke, and they were more or less deleted in that round. Ninjas in Pyjamas. Wasn't great for them, that one.
This matchup, this series is a really stern test of resilience for NiP because they absolutely are going into this. They're down a map. They probably expected to win Nuke, first of all, but they're down a map and they've lost the pistol. They've lost their first buy round. They got pretty annihilated. OpTic are in this position where they can really start taking the initiative in a way where NiP will feel like they can't do much, but just react, which is one of the worst things to feel in Counter-Strike, when you just feel like you're reacting and unable to really have any other sort of way to impact your fate other than just waiting for your opponent to do something. So if they're going to win this game or this series, it's going to require maximum resilience from them. And I'm looking forward to seeing if they can do that, because if they do, if they accomplish that, it will look pretty spectacular and be a great game. But it's difficult. Dust 2 is a map that can snowball out of control.
Get Right was being hunted. Forest has come to join him. They were expectant. And they went wrong. There's Forest. There's Get Right. There is the round for OpTic. 4-0 for OpTic. A perfect start for them, more or less. NiP. Max loss bonus. They've got everything they want. Lecro and Forest will be AWPing. Who will be on B?
I wonder if NiP will just take Catwalk here, because it's only been 1 round, but they got really shut down on long. They lost a round by trying to defend long. So I could see a world where they just try to put 2 on Catwalk straight away, give up long immediately, because there is a huge argument for OpTic to take long at the beginning of pretty much all these rounds. And NiP have 2 decisions: take long themselves, which it seems like they've done successfully here. Timing-wise, it's worked out. Their other option, as I mentioned, was to go catwalk. So they've managed to successfully hold long. That's good news for them. Good position for Lekra. See the crouching under that angle. That's pretty cognizant.
And they have short. With intentions to long OpTic. They want to take everything away. They want to leave ninjas in pajamas with nothing. No long, no short, no spot in the finals. Get right, force back down the ramp again. Lekra over very deep angle, but MSR's looking for it. I think Stratus are a good example of how they deal with that kind of position. Maybe there's a chance to touch on that later on. Get right looking towards the site. Molotov not touching him just yet. Ooh, that's annoying. MSR creeping now. MSR alone towards A ramp, A long rather. But he delivers the kill, as he often has with the AWP so far. Oh, he's got himself a little lineup. That will do the job very, very nicely indeed.
That's really cool.
That's one for the notepad.
Great round from OpTic, actually. The way that they sort of paced that one was really effective against NiP. NiP took long, but OpTic still found the way to take it away back from them.
So I know that OpTic knows what NiP is, how they kind of participate on this map, because Get Right oftentimes are alone at long. So as you said, OpTic got stuffed at the start. They waited for about 25, 30 seconds. They let people kind of take up catwalk, and that time NiP's up in there, you know, maybe off on the rail, one person playing pit, which is Get Right. And so OpTic really doing their anti-strat homework against NiP here.
Oh, absolutely. Speaking of MSL being an AWPer, well, there was an opportunity for MSL to kill Rez. He failed, and now everyone's dying. Refresh, though, looking to save the day. He's got Snappy in the back, but the Deagle of Lekra is causing problems, as it always does. Looking for the entrance now through those doors. Snappy will be... Well, he has time here. He doesn't have to force his way through the doors, but he still tries to, and Lekra will take him down. And that is a great round for NiP, an unexpected one. And that's going to mean that they'll have a lot of money in the bank, but... Again, it's always hard for me to see MSR miss some of these shots around. I just know that the other AWPers of teams of that caliber, they don't miss those really. So he's a bit up and down, unfortunately, a bit inconsistent. Hopefully that improves over time.
And it's good for NiP to actually win, kind of like a gamble stack towards the B bomb site. As you said, OpTic was conditioning NiP, and they decided to go B that round. It did not pay off, and that's kind of the drawbacks about gambling like that without doing a default, going straight into a bomb site. You just don't know if they're stacked there or not.
And also sort of doing it on an anti-eco type round or anti-half-buy. That's a great nade onto config. You'll take cover momentarily. And for us to take position. Ooh. Config coming out and he's doing the damage. Takes down Rez. Only gets... takes just a lick of damage from Rez. I find Garro's position here, this is an annoying one to deal with, because you can't use it too many times, but I feel like it's super effective because you're still looking towards pit often when you get to that position, when you cross it. We'll see how diligent OpTic are, if there can be a flash from Lekra, but instead Garro goes for the peek. Of course, he can't see what we can see, and that is going to put Lekra in a spot where he's got to do so much. That is a good start, but he can't find the second kill. That would have been everything. And now OpTic have the bomb sites, and NiP, their money's crippled. They just spent pretty much everything except Lekra. I think a save is really on the cards. If they save, they can buy the next round and still have an AWP.
Yeah, I can't see OpTic giving up a kill right now, even though the two NiP players are up on catwalk. Smoke is going to buy a little cover for the catwalk, but it's just the time's running down. They're going to have to fall back. It's better to save the AWP and rifle for the next round. You're going to be down 6-1. You got to try to salvage as many rounds as possible. And then, you know, that's a problem of playing one person long all the time. If you keep doing it, you're going to get exploited. And OpTic looks like they want to keep exploiting Get Right and long. So if I was Get Right, You know, you just notice a couple rounds in a row, they took long on you. So you have to know that they know you play long.
Yeah. It's a problem. It's a big problem. And again, on this map, on the CT side, it feels so difficult to take aggressions, to sort of break up the momentum, the pattern that's been formulating.
Ooh, so close.
Instead, all you have is just these default setups. Such is the nature of Dust 2, though. And, oh, this could be a well-timed. Is this an HE? Looks like it might be. Indeed, it is. Oh, that's beautiful. Config again, much like previous rounds. A single HE knocking him down below half health. And so OpTic have the default amount of map control. This is, you know, Refresh is set up to sort of lurk to cut off rotation. And the rest are set up for a 2-2 split onto the A-bomb site. Oh, actually, sorry, Snappy's alone. It's 3 on Cat. In fact, everyone's on Cat now, except for Snappy. So it's like a 4-1 splits on the cards. There's no one on the A side. That's really scary. Lekro will start to make his way back, but he's got an M4, not even an Orc. So it's going to be very difficult to hold this. They're going to go down for the drop here, which is very effective against an AWPer. But against a Rifler, I think that Lekro is actually really happy with this. And he gets himself another frag. Really good work from him, now leaving MSL in the 1 versus 3 clutch. It will be post-plant. It just has to be able to kill Lekro somewhat quickly. Oh, it's so awkward. Up on the box, so incredibly exposed. Looking for the trade from Catwalk. And it comes a little bit too slowly, because surely there's time for Lekro to move into position. But no, it'll be it will be the HE from Rez to finish it off. And I feel like that round, I feel like OpTic had really nailed it there.
OpTic definitely had the positional advantage of NiP. The NiP played too long, and OpTic had 4 people catwalk. The only problem is, the hard part about taking catwalk from A, if you don't insta-kill that person on the rail or car, you have to have more flashes towards that long railing. I think I only saw maybe 1 or 2 flashes by OpTic. You have to have chain flashes as your team's pushing out towards that A-bomb site and long. You have to have chain flashes on this map. People's aim are too good, Dan, to just try to out-DM someone when they're camping railing or car.
Yeah, indeed. And as the Xbox smoke deployed by Snappy, and a long take again, and was that a peek into the Molotov? Whatever it was, it worked. MSL opens it up. Good stuff from him. A 5 versus 4 quickly now for OpTic, and once again NiP under threat of win 1, lose 1, which is horrible. It's a horrible feeling for us with a flash for a re-peek. Make it safe. And Lekro going deep. But Config is already so deep. That off angle, too much for Lekro at this instance. Although Get Right can trade it up, they're still operating from a man down because of MSL's initial pick. And Forrest is trying to get something there. He's taken a lot of risks to do so. And it gets worse for NiP. They got to save. They have to save. They're just getting outshot in this round. They're getting outshot. And that's not usually something that you would expect to be the problem for NiP.
Yeah, I think at this point, you can't be playing defensive in the A-bomb site anymore. You're going to have to start taking catwalk, or maybe even more of an aggressive long take where you have to force tease up catwalk or a B split. Because at this point, every single round OpTic's hitting A. They're kind of pinching NiP in a way where NiP's never comfortable. They always have to be moving. They always have to reposition as they're almost getting hit by 2 sides at once. So it's better just to maybe even risk it, take catwalk with people, or maybe even take a mid take when they're trying to execute A. There's a couple things you can do to alleviate a lot of this pressure by OpTic. You just gotta buckle down and do it.
Yeah, you got to take some of those risks for sure. And it's not working out for NiP. Honestly, I felt like this was going to be either a fairly close series with NiP winning or NiP winning 2-0, and it looks like OpTic are starting off so strong. Oh. Okay, and Snappy gets tagged as well. All right, the scouts are out in force. However, once you lose a player like this, when you're up against something that feels like a half buy, usually what the T's reaction will be is to just prioritize everyone to get position. on the map together. So you move forward somewhere. Like, for example, here, we got a smoke on CT. The B split pressure is on. And Rez is looking in from the window, and another tag comes on to Config. Another tag out there from Rez to finish off Config. And these scouts, you can't let them work like this. A headshot from Rez. That is phenomenal. Now leaving just 2 players. And Forrest is just lurking, just hiding in the corner as long as he possibly can here on the plateau. And they won't see him. Oh, he's got to get that kill. Nico takes him down. And now it's Nico alone against 3. That might be too much. We'll have to see. He picks up a scout. And oh, I just hold my breath there for a moment. I thought that he was very close to finding himself a headshot, but instead Electro finishes it off. And that's the second. So up to 3 rounds, NiP have won.
Oh my goodness, that doesn't even make sense.
Of the 3 rounds, NiP has won. 2 of them have been like this. Just pistols.
Just constant chaos, and it's pretty much out shooting OpTic. Man, it's kind of difficult to see. You're trying to do this B split, and the scout just keeps re-peeking your window, and no one's posted up from OpTic in that kind of situation. One guy posts up, the rest move through.
Absolutely, and you can see the Xbox smoke, and Forrest is due to that watching below the smoke and finds the timing for them to exit lower tunnels and to move into mid. And that was almost a catch from MSL. He was looking for it. A little bit too slow to it, though, unfortunately for him. Will he get another jump peek? Perhaps not. You don't really want to test that too much. And back into Catwalk. So OpTic, you know, they are... I like how they're getting presence everywhere. They got some presence pretty deep in mid there, which really sends the alarm bells ringing for NiP that, okay, we've got to watch out for a B split. That could be a possibility. But in that, the rotation of Dennis into mid means that there's only 2 on A, which weakens the A defense a lot.
It's such an awkward setup for NiP. They're both by car, and that's it. So they got to hit their shots. Your OpTic will drop down, but the pressure's on here. The flashes are coming over. Refresh does get both kills at A, and now this looks trouble for NiP.
Well, they're out of position. They remained up. 2 versus 3. Do they consider a chance? The switch from an AWP to a rifle would suggest yes. There's no smoke to help with this defuse. Rez has a kit, but everyone's gone towards long for OpTic, which would suggest it's not a good plant for the likes of NiP. Is there a smoke anywhere to be found? They can see the nature of the plant now. Is there a stray smoke grenade? Doesn't seem likely. That bomb's quite far ticked, but they seem to still be going for it. And I think that's going to be that. Still having a look for us, but maybe it's time to just save an AWP. I don't know why he...
What's going on here?
Stood there that long. The round was lost, so take what you can. Focus on your own economy, because you got no money. And surely yours is more important. And they're going to force buy as well.
Like
after throwing that weapon away, he could have just jumped into CT spawn and picks up the AWP again. And instead he has a CZ75. It's very bizarre. Why?
I don't know. That's very unusual. It's not even. I can't tell you.
That's not what you would expect to see from the likes of Ninjas in Pajamas, but here we are.
Well, mid is taken, and they can just move into B at this point. Dennis will flash into the smoke to suggest that someone could make a play through that smoke, but they don't seem to care really, OpTic. Rez will only be able to get 1. He's pincered. There's nothing he can do. And Dennis will finally make that play for the smoke. The running is heard a little bit too late there for Snappy, and GetRight will take his gun. So 3v3 on the retake. There is no kit that I can see. I don't know if there's one on the ground somewhere, but presumably not. And so this has to be a speedy one for NiP, given that fact.
The remainder all have weapons. Another crack at the whip. Surely this one is over now. Or is it? Again, they do need to go fast. They've both got smoke grenades, although they're not really relevant anymore at this point. Nico and Config not really showing too much. Time to save the AWP, surely. And this time, Lekro will indeed save the weapon, rather than throw it away. But it's 9-3 for OpTic. This is a really bad spot for Ninjas in Pajamas. Again, if they lose, then, as I understand it, Vanguard need to win, and Vanguard go through. So NiP could lose and still make it to land. It's just that their destiny will no longer be in their hands.
It's actually quite interesting too, because the Fnatic Vanguard matchup, I actually don't know. I have no idea what that will entail. Honestly, that's a really interesting one. Fnatic ranked pretty damn highly at the moment. As I said, they're above NiP. They're in the top 6 in the world, on the rankings at the very least. Either way, these teams are so good. It's hard to say. Lekr going deep here, trying to take some aggression, trying to take some initiative, some agency in this game, and immediately lots of damage done onto both Refresh and MSL.
Oh my
Nice.
goodness!
I don't know how he connected that, but that was fantastic.
The hero AWP. Could have had an extra one in the last round.
I think there was a double HE on Catwalk that dropped MSL and Refresh to half health, and you can see that that's made life a little bit easier to pick them off. 2 versus 4. Again, I think if NiP win this round, that would be 3 of the 4 rounds that they have won off of terrible buys, which doesn't make any sense.
They're being proactive on these half kind of weird force buys. And so it's forcing them not to play defensive, which they're doing on the gun round. It's why they're losing. They're too defensive. You can't be defensive with 2 people in A if Dust 2.
Yeah.
That's just not how it works. Can't let the team walk up catwalk and then take long and then pinch you.
Ooh.
Taps with the 5-7. Lekr is dead. Off angles from Dennis. 2 in the red now, 1 short. There's 1. Few bullets left. That's a long reload. Manages to escape though. Great awareness from him. Refresh down and back up again. Here's the footsteps. Lovely flick, but that will be it. AWP will be collected. Ninja's Pajamas are getting a round or 2 back. Round number 4 in the bag. Great shot from Lekr. God knows what that was.
I don't know what that is.
Lord knows. And we have a pause from OpTic. Their money's been broken. NiP could get 6 rounds out of this half. The fashion in which they've won the rounds and the amount of rounds they've lost looks bad, but it could finish okay.
6 is not a bad number.
It's a weird one because the timeout here is like, do we just force buy both rounds? Normally with this money, you would probably consider it, because there's 4 players that can't really fully buy.
It's going to be a double save anyway, so
Yeah.
there's only 2 rounds left. So I think at this point you have to do a hard buy.
Double force.
Get a scout in there. Come on.
I feel like the scouts will become, over time, they will become more in use than they are now. I feel like the scouts are actually extremely strong. It's just that they're very hard to use effectively. Because in professional Counter-Strike, you often only get that one opportunity. Oh my god. Config.
This is not a good start, is it?
He's done Dennis in, hasn't he? With that D-Eagle.
Get Right has got to stop them from collecting that weapon. They're up, they're down. He's still got some bullets. He may have some teammates for support. There's Forrest. The bomb is through the doors. That is much needed. A smoke to create some space, but the gap is still there. Refresh spotted going to the left-hand side. Now maybe there can be some supports. A smoke to create space. Has he got the right timing? Oh, he's looking for more. Looking for more spray, but NiP know they could get caught spraying. So they won't. They'll calm down. They'll go back and take the bomb sites instead, which I respect. There's a point where holding on to the bomb is not so necessary for or worthwhile for the CT side based on risk/reward. They could defend the bomb, but they could also allow him to take it and reset. Now he has no idea where any of them are. Although you would presume that bomb sites are being defended.
I feel like a save in this situation is pretty money for Refresh, considering how bad the cash is for OpTic. Having rifles will be... They won't be able to afford rifles. So I feel like when the 1v3, when he gets the Orc there, I feel like the save is the best play.
I agree with you. So
I'm surprised that he went there, because damage is meaningless to NiP, and it's very unlikely that they're going to make the mistakes that are required for them to lose that round with 2 AWPs and so on. So Either way, that is what happened though, and OpTic will have since the single scout, and that'll be in the hands of Config. Everybody else you can see on the pistols, and they've got enough utility, and it looks like they're going to ship all in on the B-bomb sites. Maybe they'll wait out some of the initial grenades first, but they're going to go for it. Freds is there. Oh, it's so juicy. All that spray hitting its mark, and everyone falls down.
That's a nice way for an NiP to finish the half. Moving into the second half with some momentum. They have got those 6 rounds, as unlikely as they were. Can they get more in the second half? Find out after the break.
Cuando yo te vi, sentí que eras para mí. Te quiero descubrir y yo no quiero compartir. Tus ojos brillan fuera de tu control. Cuando yo te vi, sentí que eras para mí hoy. Ay, 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 te voy a enseñar, te voy a silenciar fácil. Quédate un rato aquí, muévete así, así. Bailamos sin parar, bailamos sin parar. Quédate un rato aquí, muévete así, así. Bailamos sin parar, bailamos sin parar. El sol está saliendo, es domingo otra vez. Te digo que esta noche no será la última vez. Ay, 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 te voy a enseñar, te voy a silenciar fácil. Quédate un rato aquí, muévete así, así. Bailamos sin parar, bailamos sin parar. Quédate un rato aquí, muévete así, así. Bailamos sin parar, bailamos sin parar. Bailamos, bailamos sin parar. Bailamos, bailamos sin
Hello. ECS returneth. OpTic have a 3-round lead, looking to ruin the dreams and make themselves some money. Ruin the dreams of NiP. Dreams turning into nightmares.
I like how you do it for money, James. I like how you frame that. They're going to ruin some dreams for money.
Prize fighter. Prize fighter, prize fighter.
Well, that's a great start. Nico's railed 2 players. 3 players, I should say. Excuse me. Now it's just down to Get Right and Lekra. They're going to bust into the B-bomb site, but they are the ones to be busted, it would appear. Not a single kill. This looks hopeless. Speaking of dreams
Yeah?
evaporating, collapsing.
Dream is collapsing. I like the OST. What's that film called again?
Inception.
For some reason I had Equilibrium in my head. But no. Anyway,
Good movie as
double
well.
figures for OpTic. They have reached the 10th round. And NiP are almost looked AFK. They're all facing mid with Glocks. That is unusual.
New strats.
Do you remember when I used to crab walk on Inferno?
It's long ass time ago.
They're looking for a push. They're inviting a mistake. They're inviting hubris.
Peek me, peek me.
But nothing doing.
Config is hungry. Config is like that beast. You need to feed him the frags. They sustain him. He needs the kills.
He needs satiation.
You're saying that he's a little baby.
Feed the beast.
He needs his milk.
Could be a giant baby.
Some of the quotes he put on
Crawling
Twitter,
around,
you
just
never know.
crushing buildings. It's all about scale. These are little Lego people to config. Just don't get caught in the throat. Well, there is a cleanup. I mean, I respect that from NiP because there's nothing they can really do with Glocks
Yeah.
on Dust 2.
Yeah, just trying to waste some utility and so on and so forth. And they wanted to get into the buy with the best possible buy that they could get. So they didn't really have any investment to even get, go for one of those cat plays. You can get those conservative cat plays where you got a smoke and a flash, and you try to get that cat plant, and that can be pretty successful. But they're messing around. They were always thinking about this round. And I hope for their sake they get something going on this round. You see, MSL's actually looking. Oh, that is dangerous. That is very dangerous. I'm actually so surprised that Forrest has dinked him straight up through the door. After that, Get Right catches Snappy being aggressive. Interesting. OpTic going so aggressive as to go for the long push, unprovoked. And NiP punishing it with just playing a default on a normal pace.
So far, so good. Flashes through the middle doors. A little team flashing going on, but they've double smoked. I guess one of those smokes was probably supposed to be elevated, but they wasn't. They weren't. Refresh. There's one. There's two. Looking for a third. Oh my days.
Wow, that's value.
He gets 3, and that leaves it in 1 versus 1. That is, I mean, it's a very common position. Lecro makes it easy, but look at the expense. The sheer expense of it all.
Wow. And that's what happens when you don't pop flash. Because people can sit right here, right in the choke point, blowing you up.
MP9 is awesome.
It's so good. But the weird thing for me is that OpTic, were just pushing spots there, and the long push is what I really don't understand. I think that's a bit cheeky. You got NiP against the ropes already, and oftentimes what a good approach. I mean, if they have the reads because of the demos they've been watching, that's fair enough. But I feel like you have this opportunity to see how will their T side look. Right now, we're hitting all our shots. They're actually struggling in a lot of the aim battles against us.
I agree with you, Dan. I think that was too much.
Like, just wait to see what their game looks like.
Or at least find information. Like, they only saw one person middle, and he pushed along with, like, in the first 15 seconds. Like that's way risky.
It's a huge gamble. And it's a gamble that if it goes wrong, you put your team at a huge disadvantage. And is the game enough?
Missile going back to the well. Flash. Forced to concede his position. He's on a ramp now. Going back towards the A site. We've got the mid to B smokes, but there are 2 players in the B bomb site, and Nico's looking for something through the corner of the smoke. There's the elevated smoke, so there's no vision. Now what kind of play will he make? Config gets absolutely deleted, but Nico makes a play at the same time. He gets 2 out of it before they can take him out. They still have position. There isn't a re-smoke, however. Bomb planted default. Will they check for Get Right? No, they will save. They will move away. They will back off. They will give this one up and live to fight another day. They will save.
That was pretty incredible damage from the UMP, I gotta say. Nico made it look way better than it actually is, I feel like. But ultimately, NiP, they win, and they actually do survive with enough players to make sure that they're going to be okay. And fortunately, they're on the T side too. So even if you're losing more players, as long as you're winning the rounds, you're generally going to be okay. In being able to have competitive rounds, even with low buys. But yeah, I'm curious to see how this will develop for OpTic now. I think NiP have been just running defaults, and at least in the round previous to this one, I felt like OpTic kind of hung themselves in that round. So
I think they keep it simple. I mean, you saw Config on the scaffold pretty much hiding by himself, but no one in OpTic was baiting, or at least appearing to, take peeks so it could kind of maybe distract NiP to not look there.
Yeah.
But since no one was peeking, mid was smoked off, they just checked spot, just like, oh, you're there. Okay.
Indeed.
Okay.
Fast long take just with Lecro, and One of the things that I think is often important to see how the other team can react to. When you're playing the CT side, it's really important to have those rounds where you slow down the Ts enormously and force them to run a set piece onto a bomb site and see what that looks like. Because sometimes teams will be kind of weak in their coordination of it, or then maybe they won't have the maybe the right nades. Or maybe the time pressure will be too much. So I'm hoping we'll see some rounds like that. That's pretty cool. Double smoke there on the crossover for NiP. And sometimes in a round like this, those smokes are really risky because it allows the pistols to boost behind, to get close, to pop flash through, stuff like this. And often you'll see some teams, instead of throwing those smokes, they'll throw the CT smoke instead.
Yeah.
And throw Molotovs around the crossover, flashbangs, and then Molotov elevator and so on. But it works out, NiP not making a play through the smoke, or OpTic I should say.
Lower tunnel was a problem. See some HEs flying through, but how far do OpTic want to commit into this and risk losing the AWP? That is a key question. MSL is the most forward person, if you will, on that short position, waiting for a peak, common angle. Through the window, Rez gets taken out. Now, that raises the likelihood of a push. Maybe that lowers it. Refresh those top mid, so he knows there is no flank coming. Dennis is in the red. If Fresh gets this killed, then surely they go for it. Surely. That bomb's quite far ticked, though. They've got no defuse kit, so no, they won't. They'll fall back. Everyone is going to remain sensible. They've got some good bounty from this round, OpTic.
Yeah.
It's a really good save.
Yeah, it's actually pretty amazing. Ooh, so much damage. Imagine if they would get that kill, too. I mean, it's still not great for NiP, honestly, because they're going to have to rebuy so much. But if the kill had gone to Lekra as well, they would be spending almost everything in this round. And they would have almost no bank left, which would set up OpTic really nicely to reset them. But either way, OpTic, they have that AK save. They've got the AWP still. So they've saved on some money. And I'm curious to see, again, what their approach will be. I would expect something a bit more passive overall. We'll see the 2-3, the 3 from A going to try to support the long position as quickly as possible. Get right through there. The flashbangs are good, but he whiffs his spray. And that's going to be a 5 versus 4 straight away for OpTic. So first round on their CT side, 5 versus buy, where they get that initial advantage. And NiP respond. They respond quickly by taking middle, by pressuring this B split.
Instantly focus on that position. Nico could jump up on the crate, actually, and look over this box. I'm not sure. One of those smokes, I think, went in the wrong place, so maybe there'll be a chance towards the door. Flashes over the top. Nico going through the smoke instead. Forest taken out. They take it all for granted, and they get cut to pieces.
Ouch. Good hold from OpTic in that round.
And Nico, again, with that smoke push through middle, you'd think that NiP would have learned the first time around, but they didn't. And he ends up getting 3 kills in the process.
Yeah, he pushed with a flash, but I don't think the flash did anything to anybody. I think because it went past the players pushing window, and the guy who was double doors was covered, I think, too. So you're right, if someone's watching it, they probably get him.
Oh, wow.
There you go. It's just some vintage forest. Action.
He's foraging in the forest.
Yeah, I guess he's foraging with the scout, looking for kills, looking for money. He does too. And we go to 4 versus 4 as the kills traded out. Forest goes down. A vengeful config. Nice. Ferrying the gun away.
This is carnage. OpTic. Wait. 2 players per site. NiP clearing that short position. We see Config Wonder making his way towards the middle position. No AWP. MSL's gone. Config creeping around the smoke is in CT spawn now, more or less. We've got Nico waiting. Got some grenades of his own to try and create some space. Look over the smoke, perhaps. This could be absolutely brutal. Surely no one's going to be ready for this. Get right to alone. He won't last very long, though, will he? In the smoke, 22 HP. What can he really do? That is a resounding failure. A bomb plant is not enough.
Like, get right. Just sitting there. It's like, maybe I'm not here anymore, guys. Just leave me alone.
The bomb plant does help actually because they can get pistols and a couple nades, and they could try to go for a cat plant. And in so doing, maybe they get some damage, maybe they get some extra money, but they have, you know, they can get value from this, more value from this round. Obviously in Counter-Strike, if you can get value from every round, that's fantastic. Some rounds you have to give up because the likelihood of value is so low. But with that bomb plant, I think that there is, you know, we see a scout, we see some deagles. They'd opt not to get nades in config. We know what happens when he does moves like this. Usually he lights up everyone, but he gets caught off guard, baited by Lekro initially, finished off by Forest, and all of a sudden, again, Snappy getting caught by the Longhouse, going a bit aggro, and it's not looking good here for OpTic. In a 3 versus 5, risks must be taken.
Fresh spots. Tracking isn't there on this occasion, though. And it's all falling apart for OpTic. Very, very strange indeed. Now, a retake 2 versus 5 with an Organ and AWP. That's a big save by MSL, but that's a big kill by Rez, which surely marks the end of this round, unless they all chase these weapons and serve themselves to MSL. But he started to move away. So maybe one of these Deagle players can take a risk and try to pick up that org. In fact, Dennis has gone through lower tunnel. He's hunting for the AWP, and in the meantime, they'll spread and leave the B bomb site in its entirety and collect some weapons on the way.
This was another round where OpTic they've gone a bit aggressive. Oh, the timing is absolutely unbelievable here. Oh my god, feel bad for myself, but it's a round where, you know, OpTic, they're pushing lower dark. The problem is then compounded because after config dies, OpTic's response is to push Snappy on long, and he gets absolutely annihilated by Rez. So then they're down 5 versus 3. So the problem's compounded after they lose their initial push. So
I'm curious if config did not tell his team what he was doing, because he was lower tunnels, 3 of his members are long A, and his other partners just in B bomb site, like just sitting back. So I'm wondering if config's like, I want to push mid. And then he pushed before any strat or anything happened. That's what it seemed like to me.
Right, it did look very disjointed, like ultimately. And obviously, if it doesn't work out and config doesn't kill everyone, of course, you know, there are criticisms to be made.
It's the right corner, isn't it? Unless he wants to go to the left.
It is the right corner. Botched.
Yeah, so
He followed Bart off Twitter.
I did send him a tweet of the actual Molotov.
Of that one?
Yeah. I did after the previous match.
And he still gets it wrong. It's hilarious.
He went through 2 doors and died. I can't imagine that's the one he wanted to throw. So I think he forgot the lineup.
Might want to retweet him again.
So it's in the corner where the wall meets the bridge, basically. And then it bounces off that spike thing and then goes behind the door. But it's improvement. At least he tried to throw it. Molotov will force himself from his position. That's quite nice. Don't normally see that. And they will start to create some space, perhaps. Will they put the smoke grenade up? Ooh, is this one for the mid position for the cross? 30 seconds remain for Ninjas in Pyjamas. They've got no one towards long. They're all on short. And that Molotov is going to be a pain. That's really killing the time. The sound cues have been heard. And we're having a 4th man rotate towards the A bomb site as their execute begins.
There's the first flash. No more flashes to be found in MSL. Only good for the one, but Nico's in his position. Do they expect this? Oh, he gets nothing for it, only a dink, but it's Snappy. He's been set up from the long position, sniping him down with the AUG, the scope, doing all the damage. OpTic Forest now against so many players, and that's a beautiful defense to start things off. One more to go, but he can't reload in time, and it will be the defuse, the defense. 1 man less standing, it's config.
Good hold from OpTic. The lack of flashes, again, I can't stress enough. You need to chain flash if you're going to take Catwalk to A and have nobody helping from long.
There was just 1 flash I saw at least. Was there any more, did you see?
Maybe two, but it was too little too late. OpTic was cleaning up. At least Snappy was cleaning up.
Forrest has been menacing in these double doors. So he's looking lower in case someone peeks at the timing at which he usually takes a shot. So some mind games there, you can see straight away. Either way, we'll get MSL backing away. Long has been contested. and it has been secured by NiP.
Yeah, you've got to be really scared of those grenades once you've been spotted in short. Come sailing in, 5 HP. You can no longer peek. They are just not respecting any of these smoke grenades, OpTic. And to great effect for the most part, but on this occasion, perhaps not. 2 kills for Lecro. 4 versus 3, and we've got OpTic with 2 people on the short position. A boost over the smoke, but people are on fire. And Config, oh, so much damage. 3 versus 2, it's still doable. He is not going to give this one up. His teammate's close to the site on the low ground. Jumping up, trying to stop the plant. We've got a Dennis with an off angle by the car. That's not working out for him. And now Forrest is alone. It's all fallen to pieces for Ninjas in Pajamas. And we find ourselves at match point for OpTic.
Wait, was Get Right getting burned on the boost?
Is OpTic getting burned?
Sorry,
on short?
yeah,
Somebody-
whoever's boosted.
Somebody was for a second or 2, but maybe they managed to creep out of it, I'm not sure.
Oh wow, I wouldn't have expected things to go like this. 15-10, and NiP are against the ropes. They just haven't looked comfortable today. OpTic, on the other hand, have looked really good. I mean, they've definitely, there's been some questionable opens and plays on their CT side of Dust 2, but everything else has generally been really good for OpTic and very impressive. So Forrest, there you go, the 152, 151 timing to shoot up high.
Oh, that's a good start.
What?
It's like it can never be easy.
How do you do that? How does that work?
A little bit of luck
I don't get it.
and a little bit of skill.
So sick.
Phase 20G2, just so you know, that match has finished now. And maybe this one will soon finish as well. OpTic, though, are a man down. NiP, this is still doable. 5 rounds behind. A man to the good for now. Nico's putting something towards Xbox. Now Lecro's made his way through, but Nico just gets a completely free kill there. 4 versus 4, refresh. Using double stack for cover. Lovely pop flash. He can't peek at the same time, forcing him to look away. You're abusing players once again. Exploitation from these orgs. That leaves Forrest 1 versus 3. Looks away and he gets taken out. OpTic will 2-0 Ninjas in Pajamas and send them packing, crashing out of this week's bracket and leaving their destiny in the hands of a Vanguard.
Wow, OpTic looking really, really good today. Really showing a lot better team than they were a couple weeks ago when we saw them. And so NiP looked a little asleep. Some weird setups on the CT side here and there. And OpTic just kind of ran away on this map.
Yeah, I don't know. It felt like NiP, they didn't have that fight and that viciousness, that ferocity that we saw in the previous week. I don't know if it was just because they got such a bad start on Nuke and they'd really struggled to recover. But OpTic, on the other hand, they did have that ferocity that we saw from NiP last week. They were great. They had awesome individual performances. On the Nuke T side, it looked stunning. They had great rounds, great pacing. They mixed things up. They had good team play. You can see they were very well prepared. So a lot of respect to OpTic, because also we saw some great clutches from them too, which is very important. You can have a great game plan, but it has to come down to the clutches sometimes. And you had Config, you had Refresh, you had Nico. Everybody was putting in the work. MSL struggling with the AWP, I think, in this series. We often see that, but the rest of his team did really well.
Yeah, it's a very interesting performance from OpTic, and indeed, NiP's destiny was in their hands. It's no longer in their hands. It's now in the hands of Avangard. You can see it'll be Fnatic versus Avangard tomorrow, and then FaZe versus OpTic. So it'll be interesting if Avangard can beat that test, if they will be gatekeeped by one of the other teams in the grand final. But we'll have to wait and see how that one plays out. But very interesting results, and very, again, it's going to be the hardest way if Ninjas in Pajamas are to make it to the finals, because again, they are no longer in control. Now we have the HyperX X Factor play of the game to have a butcher's hook at. Let's see what it is on this occasion. What's it gonna be? Okay, it's refresh on Nuke. Let's see what he can do with this. Oh, this was beautiful. Ooh. That second frag was so clean. Really nice stuff from him. That was a really awesome play, and that was pivotal on Nuke as well, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was one of the big problems for NiP. Nuke is their map. That's where they need to get going. And OpTic had great clutches. Whenever it looked like NiP are getting close, they would always take so much damage or lose a round entirely through some of these great clutches. So yeah, that's a really good one to highlight. Also, I like the fact that it's Refresh because he's a newer player on the lineup. We haven't seen a huge amount from him. He's a newer name. So it's good to see that he's fitting into the lineup in the way that he has. He looks confident.
Will NiP or Vanguard make it to the finals? You can make it to the finals. That's in your control. ECS.faceit.com. There are ticket discounts for students. There are tickets available for everybody. Get them while you can. It's in London. It's at the beginning of June. It's always going to be fun. The weather should be nice. No promises, of course, but worst case scenario, you've always got Nando's. ECS.faceit.com. That's the information. And make sure you click favorite in your client so it's featured in the client in June as well. That would be fantastic. We will see you in just under an hour and a half for the North American matchups. There will be Singularity versus NYBR and INTZ versus Luminosity. Brazilians all over the shop. Chat should be very interesting indeed. Ciao for now.